Father-in-law Kaido's monster cells create the strongest beasts. 1. Liu Xing, the concubine of all animals. I said, Mr. Liu Xing, please stay at home and work hard with Mr. Yamato to get Mr. Kaido to hug his grandson as soon as possible. Why do you have to come to my scientific research department? A burly man with a pipe in his mouth, with money braids and a mustache, Quinn, one of the big signboards of Beasts Pirates, is complaining with dissatisfaction. And the person he was complaining about was a tall young man with black hair and black pupils and a handsome appearance. Compared with the oddly shaped male members of the Beasts Pirates, this young man named Liu Xing is undoubtedly extremely handsome. Stop talking nonsense. Quickly open my laboratory. Today I'm going to open your eyes. Eyes opening? Consort, you won't invent any underwear that can shrink automatically, or a cover with a Feng-Sung effect. Piss off. Liu Xing kicked over. Quinn didn't care, and still had a mean smile on his face. As a zone, dragon fruit, ancient species, Brachiosaurus formability, and the bounty is as high as 1.32 billion Bailey, this damage is about zero for him. The two walked into a laboratory. Quinn looked at the strange device in the laboratory and asked curiously, Prince Consort, what do you use these devices for? I am a scientist anyway, but I don't understand it at all. Of course you can't understand. These things are not what the pirate world should have at all. Liu Xing muttered silently in his heart. He is actually a transmigrator. Because he accidentally dropped soot on the keyboard and stabbed a burst of electric light, he inexplicably crossed into the world of pirates. What's even more inexplicable is that he was recruited by the four emperors Kaido as his son-in-law shortly after he traveled, and became the consort of the Beasts Pirates. Today, he has spent almost 2 years in Beasts Pirates as his consort. The initial fear is long gone. Even with a strong man like Sensei, Liu Xing can chat and laugh indifferently. After getting acquainted, Liu Xing also inquired about the reason why he was recruited as the concubine. The root cause lies in Kaido's rebellious daughter, Liu Xing's current wife Yamato. Turn out to be more than 10 years ago, the scene of Kaido's execution of Eden happened to be seen by young Yamato. At that time, Yamato had a feeling of admiration for Eden in his heart. Later, she accidentally found Eden's voyage diary. Since then, Yamato's admiration for Eden has grown out of control. So much so that she even thought of herself as Eden, and made a ridiculous move to crusade her father Kaido and drive her further out of Wano Kuni. Poor Kaidos, the dignified four emperors, known as the most powerful creatures in the sea, land and air. When he was young, he even used marine as a cafeteria and was deliberately arrested 18 times, but he actually gave birth to such a wonderful daughter. Simply a joke. The angry Kaido beat Yamato many times, but Yamato still gave up. Just when Kaido was having a hard time, Quinn, who has always had a lot of bad ideas, came up with a bad idea to Kaido's, recruiting a son-in-law. Boss Kaido, although you have always raised Master Yamato as a son, Master Yamato is a woman after all. Women, after having a family and having children, will definitely change. This is Quinn's original words. Kaido felt unreliable when he heard it. Who says women change when they have children? Lin's dead old woman has given birth to dozens of children, and it's not that nothing has changed. However, Kaido really can't handle Yamato, and decides to be a living horse doctor. As a result, Liu Xing became Kaido's son-in-law and the consort of the 100 beasts. Of course, before Liu Xing, Kaido had already caught more than a dozen handsome guys, but Yamato didn't even take a look. Until Liu Xing appeared, Yamato was fascinated. From this it can be seen that Yamato is not only a silly girl who worships Eden based on a diary, but also a slut with a love brain. Thinking of Yamato, the corner of Liu Xing's mouth could not help evoking a slight arc. He is quite satisfied with this cheap wife with impeccable appearance and figure. The only complaint is that Yamato admires Eden for that idiot. Eden himself, obviously has enough strength, and also has a broad base of people in Wano Kuni. Outside, there are also the support of two peak powerhouses, Whitebeard and Roger. With such a huge advantage, in the face of Kaido, who has just risen, he has been completely defeated, so that his wife and children are separated and the country is destroyed. What a talent! Liu Xing scoffed at Eden. How could he tolerate his woman admiring such a thing? So, in recent years, Liu Xing has subtly told Yamato about Eden's stupidity. Yamato was completely unacceptable at first, but gradually, after thinking about it, she finally realized that what Liu Xing said was correct. The tragedy of the Kozuki family, the fall of Wano Kuni, and Eden's own stupidity are the main blame. It's no wonder that Eden has the title of His Highness the Fool. I have admired him for so many years. The awakened Yamato couldn't look directly at his former self. Without hesitation, she erased all memories of Eden from her mind. Today's Yamato only has Liu Xing in his heart. As for Kaido's, which one is that? Although after marrying Liu Xing, as Quinn said, Yamato did change and no longer worships Eden, but the dissatisfaction with the father Kaido is still the same as before. Master Consort, what are you thinking? Quinn's shout brought Liu Xing back to reality. Nothing. Liu Xing walked over to the lab's device, opened the lid, and took out a strangely shaped piece of purple meat. Weird cells. It turned out to be a success. Liu Xing's eyes flashed with excitement. At the beginning of his time travel, he awakened the great inventor system. As the name implies, all kinds of magical things can be invented. Limited to the system level, Liu Xing could only invent innocuous gadgets such as underwear and covers. Until yesterday, when the system was upgraded to level 2, Liu Xing was finally able to invent the monster cell, an important item that can directly change the shape of the human body and greatly increase the combat power. Plague Quinn looked at the purple meat pieces in Liu Xing's hands. What's this? Bombs? Poison? Food? None of them. It's a cell that can enhance the user's strength. Enhancing strength? Quinn was startled and immediately shook his head, obviously not believing it. In the world of pirates, there is only one thing that can enhance people's strength out of thin air, and that is devil fruit. This weird piece of meat invented by the concubine is comparable to devil fruit. How is this possible? Seeing that Quinn didn't believe it, Liu Xing smiled and didn't explain. In no time, you'll know how powerful this thing is. 2. Incredible monster cells. In order to test the monster cells, Liu Xing and Quinn came to the site where the empowered legion was stationed. To the giver, that is, the person who takes the artificial devil fruit smile to obtain the zone ability. Building a legion full of zone abilities is one of Kaido's goals in occupying Wano Kuni. The 400 or 500 givers in front of us are the result of Kaido's cooperation with Shikibu do Flamenco over the past 10 years. Come here. Liu Xing pointed to a tall and strong man with a lion's head in his stomach. Meet the concubine. The strong man's name is Holdem, and he is the real fight of Jack the Drow's men. You, come here too. Liu Xing pointed to another person. Compared to Holdem, the guy is bony and like a monkey. Master Consort, if you have something to do, please instruct the little one. The thin man hunched his back, with a flattering smile on his face. Holdem glanced at the thin man with disdain. Father-in-law, Billy is my subordinate, and he is at the bottom of the empowerment core. What are you doing with him? Oh, that's just right, Liu Xing said to the skinny Billy while throwing the monster cell in his hand. Do you want to defeat Holdem and become real hitter? Beasts Pirates has a strict internal hierarchy, from top to bottom, Governor Kaido himself, followed by the 3 disasters, and then the Flu Bao, and then the really good players. If you really hit the bottom, it's basically a small one. Billy is undoubtedly a junior, and his strength is 108,000 miles away from the real Holdem. Don't. The little one is Lord Holdem's opponent. Billy shrank his neck in fear. Epidemic Quinn sneered when he saw this. I said concubine, it's not like a joke. How can a little guy win a real fight? Our Beasts Pirates' real fight is not a vegetarian. If you go outside, it will be a bounty of over 100 million. The bounty of over 100 million, placed in the original 2 years ago, was a proper supernova strength. Liu Xing laughed without saying a word. He's not kidding. You know, the monster cells in his hands are not ordinary cells, but tiger-level monster cells. In the world of One Punch Man, the level of monsters is divided according to their strength, and there are 5 levels of gods, dragons, ghosts, tigers and wolves. The monster cells invented by Liu Xing also have these grades. If you eat a piece of tiger-level monster cell, if you can withstand the side effects it brings, you can instantly have the strength of a tiger-level monster. Isn't it easy to hit a real hit? Liu Xing said to Billy. Of course you're not Holdem's opponent now, but by eating this weird cell, you have a chance to defeat him. Eat it or not, it's up to you. As soon as the voice fell, there was a commotion in the empowerment core. Eating a piece of purple meat could give a weak Billy a victory over Holdem, which is a bit alarmist. That's not devil fruit. What's more, even devil fruit, those with the ability to smile can't eat it. No one believed what Liu Xing said, and neither did Billy himself. However, as the consort, there is no need to lie to him at all. Gamble or not? Billy decided to gamble without hesitation. In this world where the weak eat the strong, especially the beasts that are extremely valued in strength, no one can resist the temptation to become stronger, even if there is only a 1,000th chance. Billy closed his eyes and swallowed the monster cells whole. The taste is okay, at least much better than devil fruit. Next moment, Billy suddenly fell to the ground and screamed. What's the matter? Billy was poisoned. That thing was poisonous just now? Fart. How could the concubine poison Billy for no reason? The crowd was astonished. Even Quinn looked suspicious. Only Liu Xing. There is no accident. Just ate the monster cells, and it must have been a period of pain. If you carry it over, you will be reborn and your strength will double. If you can't resist it, then go see Lord Yama. What? Billy's screams became more and more terrifying and his body twisted like hemp rope. At the same time, the cells on his body began to proliferate and expand wildly. After a few minutes, the screams stopped. Billy, who was curled up on the ground, stood up. Seeing Billy's shape at the moment, everyone took a deep breath. How did Billy get so tall all of a sudden? His limbs have also become so sturdy, he can't compare to the skinny monkey just now. What the hell is going on? Quinn's eyes were bulging. His mouth was open, and he didn't even notice that the pipe he was smoking fell to the ground. This is the function of the monster cell you invented, Mr. Consort. It's incredible. It's really incredible that devil fruit can turn a skinny monkey into such a strong man in just a few minutes. The more incredible thing is yet to come. Liu Xing smiled mysteriously. Billy, how are you feeling now? Billy clenched his fist, and a surprising amount of power gathered in it. I feel stronger than ever. Are you confident to beat Hold'em? Have confidence, Consort. Okay, then let me see. Liu Xing made everyone back away to clear the battle arena. Hold'em stared blankly at Billy in front of him. Is this still the skinny monkey he remembered? Just two people. Lord Hold'em, be careful. Billy, who has always been submissive, even took the lead in launching the attack. Damn, how dare you underestimate me. Hold'em's surprise turned into anger. He is a powerful real striker. Billy, don't think you can beat Lozi by getting stronger. Hold'em roared and waved the mechanical knife in his hand vigorously. At the same time, the lion's head on his stomach opened its mouth and spewed out a cloud of flame. Hell flame knife. The flaming sword slashed at Billy. Just as he was about to hit, Billy slammed his feet on the ground and disappeared instantly. What? Before Hold'em could be shocked, he suddenly felt a sharp pain in the back of his head and passed out. The whole place was silent. The onlookers could see clearly that Billy escaped Hold'em's flaming knife at a very fast speed and teleported to his back. Hold'em was a dignified fight, and was actually given a split second by Billy, who was at the bottom of his subordinates. When everyone was shocked, it was clear in their hearts that it was not because of how powerful Billy was, but because of the weird cells invented by the Concubine. 3. Jhin and jaxed out. Master Consort, how many such weird cells do you have? After Quinn was shocked, her eyes suddenly showed ecstasy, and she stared at Liu Crossing. Only this one. The surprise in Quinn's eyes instantly turned into undeniable disappointment. But Liu Xing's next sentence made him hope again. Of course, as long as the funds are sufficient, I can continue to manufacture. Quinn was overjoyed. Master Consort, you have done a great job. If Boss Kaido knows about it, he will definitely reward you heavily. Boss Kaido's purpose is to build the strongest army of zone-capable people. But the effect of artificial devil fruit is actually unsatisfactory. Not to mention that only one of the 10 people can gain the ability at most, and the rest can only be hilarious. That is to say, even if they acquire abilities, their strengths are mostly not that great. If you really fight Hold'em, the strength in the Giver Legion is not bad, and the bounty outside is at least over 100 million. But in the new world where the strong are like clouds, it is not enough to watch. If things go on like this, it will take years for Kaido to build the strongest army. But with Consort's weirdo cells, it's different. The monster cells can actually make Billy, who is at the bottom of his strength, instantly kill Hold'em in an instant, and the effect can be called heaven-defying. If everyone takes this monster cell, it will be enough to double the strength of Beast's pirates. Quinn was ecstatic when he saw this. Let's go, Consort. We'll go see Kaido boss immediately and report the good news. Quinn couldn't wait to pull Liu Xing, and suddenly paused. Oh, by the way, Billy, you're really fighting now. Billy knelt down on his knees, his face full of excitement and gratitude, and bowed his head and said, Thank you Lord Quinn. Thank you Consort. He, who used to be the bottom in strength, never thought that one day he could become a real striker. All this was bestowed upon him by the Concubine. Liu Xing glanced at the infinite gratitude in Billy's eyes, and smiled in his heart. Anyone who takes the monster cells will be grateful to him. As a result, even if he does not have the status of the consort, no one can shake his position in the 100 beasts. At the same time, there is another huge benefit of inventing weirdo cells. That is the reward of the system. Open the system panel. A thin light curtain that only Liu Xing could see appeared in front of him. Host, Liu Xing. Points, 100. System level, LV2, 1/100th. The values in parentheses represent experience points, which are used to improve the system level, and 100 points are exchanged for 1 experience point. Unlocked props, retractable underwear, bear hood. Tiger monster cells. Items to be unlocked, ghost level monster cells, triple gravity training room, primary time room, combat power meter, system mall, any door, time machine, Ryujin Jaka. The items to be unlocked require Liu Xing to upgrade the system level to LV3 before they can be crafted. Items in the system mall that need a higher level. However, by consuming a certain number of points, you can also get a chance to use it in advance. The acquisition of points depends on the first use of the props invented by Liu Crossing. Different levels of props provide different points, such as the gadgets such as the stretchy clothes invented by Liu Xing before. Each piece can only provide 1 point. And a tiger-level monster cell can provide 100 points. Liu Xing's points at the moment were obtained from the weird cell that Billy ate. Make more monster cells and let more people eat them. The more points I get, the more items I can invent, and the stronger my strength will be. It costs 100,000 Baileys to make a tiger monster cell, so I have to get the support of my cheap father-in-law. Will Kaido support Liu Xing? There is no need to think about the answer at all. After knowing the effect of the monster cells, Kaido will definitely support Liu Xing's research even if he goes bankrupt. Quinn and Liu Xing rushed all the way to Kaido Palace. On the way, I happened to meet Firebane and Jack the Drow. Master Consort, Brother Quinn, where are you going? Although Jack the Drow is an iron-headed boy, he still has great respect for Liu Xing and Quinn. Go to Boss Kaido, Quinn said without looking back. Blazing Ash frowned. He had never seen Quinn so impatient before. Did something important happen? Someone attacked Wano-kuni? HMPH, why did Losey tell you? Quinn didn't have a good tone, and he and Yanzai have always been difficult to deal with. The reason is that he is very dissatisfied that Jhin ranks higher than him in the three disasters. Liu Xing explained, I invented a gadget, and I want to report it to my father-in-law. The two big signboards might as well come and take a look. The concubine invented something again? Last time it was the hood, this time it was the shoes, or the stockings. Jhin, Jack, and Quinn are not the same, not interested in these things at all. But seeing Quinn so eager, the two decided to go see it together. The four came to Kaido's palace. Kaido was drinking, and several liters of spirits were poured into his stomach. Hiccup. Kaido hiccuped, and looked at Liu Xing and the four of them drunkenly. Why are you here? Do you want to drink together? Come on, Losey hasn't had enough. Liu Xing looked at his cheap father-in-law, the strongest creature in the sea, land and air. More than 7 meters high, the body like a mountain, even sitting on the ground is extremely oppressive. Boss Kaido, we're not here to drink, we're here to report something important to you. Quinn yelled. What? Kaido was still drunk and hazy, his eyelids drooping. Billy, you know, it was given to a little guy in the Empowered Legion, who ate the monster cell invented by the concubine, and even defeated a real fight. What did you say? Kaido's bell-like eyes suddenly widened, and he suddenly woke up with alcohol. Jhin and Jack also had expressions of disbelief on their faces. Jack said uncertainly, Billy seems to be my scoundrel, as thin as a monkey. How can it be possible to win a real fight? Quinn said, I couldn't believe it at first, but it happened just now, and the 400 or 500 people who gave the Empowerment Corps can testify. As one of the big kanbans, it is indeed impossible for Quinn to lie, and there is no reason to lie. But what he said was unbelievable. Therefore, Jhin and Jack still had suspicious expressions on their faces. 4. Ecstatic Kaido. Father-in-law, my son-in-law knows that you can't believe it. I'm willing to make another monster cell and let you see its effect with your own eyes. Liu Xing said. Kaido stood up with anticipation and said, okay, if there is such an effect, the old man will definitely reward you. Liu Xing hesitated a little. It's just that it costs a lot of money to make monster cells. Kaido waved his hand. How much money you want? Go get it. As long as it can improve the combat effectiveness of the subordinate legion. What is the money? Liu Xing was secretly happy and said, it takes about 20. No, 300,000 Baileys to make a monster cell. A mere 300,000 Baileys may be a huge sum of money for ordinary people, but in the eyes of the 4 emperors Kaido, it is not even a hair. Kaido asked Yan Zanjin to withdraw money from Liu Crossing. Among the 3 disasters, Quinn is in charge of the scientific research unit, iron-headed baby Jack is in charge of fighting, and Jhin, the coolest-minded and longest follower of Kaido, is in charge of the money bag of the 100 beasts. After getting the money, Liu Xing immediately ordered people to buy the resources needed to make the monster cells, and then entered the laboratory. After half an hour, Liu Xing walked out with a strange purple meat piece. This is the monster cell that doubles one's strength. It doesn't seem to be anything special, Jack grumbled. With a simple mind and well-developed limbs, he believes that strength can only be obtained by self-cultivation, and other things are left to the side. Since Kaido came to watch it in person, it aroused the curiosity of the entire beast group. Now, almost all the members of the 100 beasts gathered outside the laboratory door. Among them, there are the 6 strongest real fights under the 3 disasters. Flu Bao. Peggy 1, the youngest in Flu Cell, walked up to Liu Xing and put his nose on the weirdo cell. It smells good. It should be delicious, right, consort? Liu Xing smiled slightly. Why? Do you want to try? Peggy 1 looked eager to try. His sister Auntie shouted at this moment. No, you can't eat it. This thing looks poisonous. Peggy 1 didn't listen to his sister at all and asked Liu Xing, Master Consort, can this thing really increase combat power? Of course, Liu Xing said, but how much combat power can be increased depends on each person's physique. One more thing I have to remind you, if you can't withstand the pain caused by the monster cells, you will not only be unable to increase your strength, but also may die. Pain? Peggy didn't take it to heart. As a dragon fruit, ancient species, and Spinosaurus form ability, his strong resilience made him unafraid of most physical pains. Boss Kaido, let me eat this monster cell. Peggy 1 asks Kaido for instructions. Kaido hesitated a bit. After all, he had never heard of weird cells. In case of an accident, he didn't want to lose Peggy 1, a potential subordinate. Although Kaido is violent, he is a man who values his subordinates and cherishes talents. In the original book, Kid and Luffy were not killed by Kaido because of this. Forget it. Liu Xing is not a rash person, and with Quinn as bailout, let Peggy 1 try it. So Kaido nodded, agreeing to Peter 1's request. Everyone step back a little, I'm afraid there will be a lot of movement later. Liu Xing said, handing over the monster cell to Peggy 1. Peggy 1 ate the monster cells bit by bit as if he were tasting May food. I don't feel anything. As soon as he finished speaking, Peggy 1's face changed drastically. He felt that there was a beast in his body, and it seemed to rush out of his body. What? Peggy 1 couldn't help but let out a roar of pain. His limbs became twisted, his body began to expand like foam, his hair stood on end, and his teeth became sharper. Seeing this scene, Runty's eyes immediately turned red. If it wasn't for Quinn to pull him, he might have to find Liu Xing desperately. Fortunately, Peggy 1's pain didn't last long. The powerful resilience of the dragon fruit makes Peggy 1 far stronger than Billy. Even Kaido's eyes widened when Peggy 1 stabilized and regained his human form. It's no wonder Kaido was shocked. It's just that Peggy 1 has changed so much. It was originally a height of 1 meter 7 at most, but at this moment it has risen to 5 meters. Add those high bulging muscles, Senhun's sharp claws, and sharp fangs are enough to be daunting. Jack the Drow was dumbfounded, unable to believe that a small cell could make such a change in Peggy 1. Xiao Pei, are you alright? Runty almost didn't know her younger brother. Sister, I feel very good now, very good. Peggy 1 clenched his fists, and suddenly raised his head to the sky and let out a deafening long howl. My body is full of power, even if you give me a mountain, I can knock it down with one punch. Unparalleled and powerful momentum radiated from Peggy 1. Kaido's eyes showed ecstasy, and he laughed. Okay, Liu Xing, you didn't let me down. The weird cell you invented really satisfied Lozi. Which one is willing to test Peggy 1's current strength? To be honest, Kaido can't wait to test it himself, but think about it. Although Peggy 1 seems to have become a lot stronger, in front of him, it is estimated that it is a stick. Boss Kaido, let me come. There was a humming sound, and it was Jack the Drow who stood up. Jack is still reluctant to believe that a small monster cell can change a person's strength qualitatively. He's going to try it himself. 5. Peggy 1 can be evenly matched with Jack. Begging for flowers. Add. Master Jack actually wants to take action himself. Even if Peggy 1 becomes stronger, he can't be a match for Lord Jack. Of course, Mr. Jack is the drought among the 3 disasters. The bounty is as high as 1 billion Baileys. How can Peggy 1 be a kid on a par? Although after taking the monster cells, the change in Peggy 1's body surprised everyone in the beast group. But to say that Peggy 1 was able to beat Jack the Drow because of this, they would not believe it at all. Dong dong dong. Standing 8 meters tall and weighing more than a few tons, Jack the Drow makes a heavy muffled sound with every step he takes. Peggy 1 kid, let this uncle try your current Jhin Liang. Facing such a heavy sense of pressure from Jack, some of the real players turned pale, and their legs couldn't help shaking. If it was Peggy 1 in the past, he would definitely be in a cold sweat. But now, Peggy 1 has no fear at all, but his eyes are full of fighting intent. Brother Jack, you've been a big Kanban board for many years. It's time to move your seat. Listening to his words, Peggy 1 even coveted the position of Jack's big billboard. Speaking of, in fact, everyone in the Fliu family wanted to bring down the 3 disasters and take the position by themselves. A typical example is Fuzzfu, who once belonged to the world government K9 spy. It's just that they haven't really acted yet, because they know that their strength is still far from the 3 disasters. Unexpectedly, Peggy 1, the youngest, became the first person in Flubao to challenge the position of the 3 disasters. Hearing this, Jack the Drow laughed in anger. Peggy 1, you little devil, did you eat a freak cell to eat your brain, and you dare to talk to this uncle like that? Add. Jack clenched his fists with both hands, and the bones all over his body made a crackling sound like popping beans. It seems that you have forgotten the horror of this uncle. He pulled out 2 Scottel knives from the ivory, and in the direction of Peggy 1 was a vertical split, sending out a powerful sword wave. Zilala. The sword wave was extremely sharp, leaving a long ravine on the ground. Such a tyrannical attack, Peggy 1 did not dodge. When Jianbo came to him, his hands snapped together, and he caught Jianbo with his sharp claws. Immediately, Peggy 1's sturdy arms suddenly exerted force, and even shredded the sword wave emitted by Jack. His tilde. The members of the 100 Beasts group took a deep breath. It's shocking that Peggy 1 was able to defeat Lord Jack the Drow's attack head-on. Kaido's big copper bell-like eyes revealed more and more surprises. The stronger Peggy 1 became, the better the monster cells invented by Liu crossing. For the 100 Beasts, this is a huge benefit for his ambitions. You brat. Jack himself couldn't believe it. With that blow just now, he used 50% of his strength. Leave it in the past. Enough to kill Peggy 1 in seconds. But now, it was easily blocked by the opponent. How can the monster cells invented by the Concubine be so heaven-defying? Brother Jack, it's my turn to attack. Compared with the shock of others, Peggy 1 himself was beyond excited. Add. This feeling of soaring strength is really cool. I saw Peggy 1 turned into a swift and violent whirlwind and rushed towards Jack. 2 sharp claws exuding cold light, as if they can tear everything apart. Don't be too mad, kid. Jack let out a roar, and the short knife slashed down. Boom. The claws colliding with fierce sparks. Jack used all his strength to suppress Peggy 1. As an ancient species of mammoth form, and a Murloc himself, Jack is said to be extremely powerful. However, His terrifying power was actually taken over by Peggy 1. Jack's eyes cracked. He finally understood that Peggy 1 was not the Peggy 1 he used to be. Peggy 1, who ate the monster cell invented by the concubine, is already close to his strength. Jack decided not to keep it and turned into a giant mammoth. Not to be outdone, Peggy also turned into a spiny-backed dragon with fangs and claws. The two beasts seemed to come from the wilderness, and they began to compete fiercely. Boom boom boom! Exclamation mark. Shake the earth. Several buildings on Ghost Island were directly shaken by the aftermath of the battle between the two. Too scary. The little fellows of the 100 Beasts were stunned. Yan Calamity, the rest of the Flu Bao, and the really powerful real fights, all of them are like clay sculptures. Add Peggy 1 can even be equal to Jack. This is unexpected. Peggy 1 really has the strength of the three disasters. In the past, this was something that no one dared to think about. Unbelievable, incredible. Jhin, who was usually the calmest, shook his head again and again absent-mindedly. Quinn on the side saw this and said proudly, Jhin, you understand how scary science is. You dare to look down on my research. When I ask the concubine for a monster cell and defeat you, Losey's position will be the first of the three disasters in the future. Jhin was speechless. His strength is only one line stronger than Quinn. If Quinn's strength is doubled, he will definitely not be able to beat him. Ha 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 ha. Suddenly, there was a burst of laughter like thunder. The world was shocked, and the situation changed. Everyone in 100 Beasts was awakened, and even Jack and Peggy 1, who were fighting in full swing, stopped their movements involuntarily. To be able to cause such a movement just by laughing, the only person present was Kaido's, the strongest creature. Quinn, you want to eat monster cells. Jhin, you want to eat too. And all of you, eat monster cells. Kaido's voice, more excited than ever. Xing, my good son-in-law, how many monster cells can you make? And the old man will give you as much as you want. 6. Soaring Points, for flowers. Add. It takes 100,000 Baileys to make a tiger-level monster cell. However, Xing told Kaido that it was 300,000 yuan. He always had to pay for his hard work. Father-in-law, as long as I have sufficient funds, I can make as many weirdo cells as I want. That's great. Kaido rubbed his hands together, excited like a child. With the monster cells, the strength of his subordinates can instantly increase by leaps and bounds, enough to double the overall strength of the 100 Beasts. In this way, it can be said that he has taken a big step forward from his dream of becoming the Pirate King and ruling the world. Jhin, give Xing all our money, Kaido ordered impatiently. Yan Zanjin had a hesitant expression on his face. Plague Quinn thought that Jhin was reluctant to give up money, and mocked, Jhin, you birdman, I didn't expect to be a miser. Jhin ignored Quinn's ridicule and said to Kaido, boss, it's not that I can't bear to have money, it's that we don't have much money. What? Kaido was startled. He had no idea about money at all, and usually left it to Jhin to take care of it. Therefore, he had no idea how much money the 100 Beasts had. Jhin explained, Wano Kuni implements a policy of seclusion and isolation, and basically has no economic relations with the outside world. It is very poor. From the people, there is no money at all. Not only can't make money, the people of Wano Kuni are starving to death. Add. We also need to buy artificial devil fruit from Joker, and trade weapons in the underground world. In addition to the daily expenses of tens of thousands of people, our capital chain has never been rich. Even though Kaido is the 4 emperors who rule the New World, in terms of masters' money and resources, he is still incomparable to marine and world government. Certainly, the main reason why the 100 Beasts Group's financial situation is worse than the other 4 emperors is that the 100 Beasts Group has been huddled in Wano Kuni, and there are too few contacts with the outside world. Unlike Aunt Charlotte Linlin, from time to time, all nations come to court. Unlike Whitebeard, the site is the largest and likes to explore on the sea. As for the red-haired Shanks, with the fewest members, they don't need a few dollars. Kaido's face darkened. Seeing Kaido looking like he was about to get angry, he was the head of the 3 plagues, Yan Jijen, and he couldn't help but feel frightened. If you don't have money, then go to Oki to ask for it, then go outside and grab it. Kaido let out a growl. Who are they? Pirates. The job of a pirate is to fight and rob. The fire disaster is said to be yes. So, the Beasts pirates, who had been quietly lurking in Wano Kuni, suddenly mobilized collectively and began to loot money in the New World. Although New World is as strong as a cloud, there are still few people who have the courage to offend Kaido Dragonbeard. I don't know how many big pirates and how many marine fortresses have been looted by the beasts. For a time, the entire New World was silent. Those who are usually very high profile, no longer dare to show off their wealth, for fear of being targeted by the Beast Group. Such important information naturally reached the ears of several other 4 emperors. Add. On the Moby Dick, Whitebeard, who had hanging bottles all over his body, widened his eyes in surprise when he heard the report from his subordinates. What did you say? The 100 Beasts looted the New World? Yes, Dad. The little fellow was sweating profusely and said, we have one of our ships robbed. Damn Kaido. Whitebeard got angry when he heard that, pulled the drug tube off his body, and stood up. Is he going to fight Lozi? As the strongest man in the world, even though Whitebeard is old and sick, his heroic spirit is still unabated, and he is not afraid of Kaido at all. Dad, don't be too angry. The Phoenix Marker quickly persuaded. The beasts are still sensible, but they just robbed us of a ship and did not enter our sphere of influence. In the future, I will restrain the people below, not to leave. It's too far. As a doctor of Baituan, Marco clearly knows that his father's body is not getting better day by day. Going to war with the beasts pirates is not a smart move. IWC. The aunt who was eating cake also received the news. That old boy Kaido must have some bad idea. Aunt and Kaido have known each other for a long time, and they work together under the rocks. Kaido's fish, phantom, and blue dragon form were all given to her when she was in the Valley of the Gods. Katakuri, you sent someone to Wano Kuni to find out what the purpose of Kaido's robbery is. Yes, Mum. Katakuri, the head of the 4 generals, took his command with awe. Red Hair Pirates. Captain Shanks and co-captain Ben Beckman are getting together to discuss. The two agreed that there must be some hidden secret behind the wanton robbery of the 100 beasts. Must be on the lookout for beasts pirates. Shanks and Beckman said in unison. Ghost Island. With a steady stream of funds, Liu Xing locked himself in the lab and kept making monster cells. 1, 2, 100, 1,000. Looking at the soaring points on the system panel and the growing small vault, Liu Xing's smile never stopped. In the blink of an eye, Liu Xing had produced 10,000 tiger-level monster cells. 10,000 tiger-level monster cells should have given Liu Xing 1 million points. But a problem arose. It's just that the side effects of the monster cells are too great. Except for those with zone ability or those with particularly strong physique, ordinary people can't bear it at all. As a result, only 500 givers successfully obtained the power of monster cells. But even so, the strength of the 100 beasts has also grown a lot, and Kaido's face is about to rot. 500 givers gave me 50,000 points, which is enough. Liu Xing licked his lips. He planned to spend 10,000 points immediately to raise the system's level to LV3. 7. Ghost-level Geek cells. Please ask for flower evaluation tickets. Use 10,000 points to exchange for 100 experience points. Liu Xing said with his mind. Soon, the Great Inventor system was upgraded to LV3. Open the system panel. Host, Liu Xing. Points, 40,000. System level, LV3, 1/1000th. Unlocked props, Tiger-level monster cells, Ghost-level monster cells, Triple Gravity Training Room, Primary Time Room, Combat Power Meter. Props to be unlocked, Fairy Beans, Fit Earrings, System Mall, Any Door, Time Machine, Ryujin Jaka. Looking at the column of items to be unlocked, Liu Xing's eyes flashed with surprise. Xiandu, the most magical pill in the world of Dragon Ball, can recover instantly no matter how serious the injury is. Fitted earrings, also from the Dragon Ball world, are heaven-defying props that can make two people fit together to double their combat power. But this is something that can only be invented at the next level. Liu Xing still makes ghost-level monster cells and gravity training rooms first. Just as work was about to start, the door of the laboratory was suddenly pushed open. Several figures walked in. Liu Xing frowned and said unhappily, What are you doing here with me? Don't you know how to knock on the door? Pijuan, who received Liu Xing's huge favor, hurriedly smiled and said, Master Consort, calm down, we didn't mean to disturb you. You know my sister's temper. The people here are all the members of Flu Bao. Pijuan's older sister, Runty, Zone, Dragon Fruit, Ancient Species, Pachycephalosaurus, is the head mother Tyrannosaurus, and usually even Kaido dares to contradict. She angrily came to Liu Crossing. Master Consort, are you still angry about what happened that day, and deliberately didn't give us weirdo cells? Liu Xing was stunned, and immediately understood what Runty meant. What she said about that day was that when Peggy had just eaten the monster cells, Runty thought that her younger brother was poisoned, and if it wasn't for Quinn's pulling, she would find Liu Xing desperately. Liu Xing laughed and said, I've long forgotten such a small thing. Then why don't you give us monster cells, and give all the 500 people in the Empowered Legion to eat? But we didn't eat it, Runty asked loudly. Fuzzy Fu and the rest of the Flu Bao members also stared at Liu Xing closely. Obviously, they are all here to speak. Can't blame them for being so reckless, it's really too important. You must know that everyone's strength has skyrocketed, almost no weaker than Flu Bao. How can Fuzzy Fur, Runty and others not have a sense of urgency? Don't they have been replaced by others before they have dismounted the 3 disasters? Liu Xing's eyes swept across the people of Flu Pai. Peggy helplessly spreads his hands. He is the first weirdo cell to eat anyway, and his strength is already close to the 3 disasters. It turns out that you are here because of this. Liu Xing smiled and said slowly, the reason why I didn't give you weirdo cells before was because those weirdo cells were too low level. Low level? At least it can double the strength of people, and even make Peggy become a monster cell low level equal to Jack the Drow? What a joke. Runty was about to refute, but Liu Xing's next words made her shut up immediately. I just invented a higher level monster cell just for you. Do you want to eat it? Fu Bao's eyes widened. And higher level monster cells? Exclamation mark. Eat to eat. Runty Chicken nodded again and again as if pecking at rice. Liu Xing's face froze. Then let me out now. The female Tyrannosaurus Runty, who was still showing her claws just now, was like a well-behaved little girl at the moment, and fled away with the other flying 6 cells. The concubine is serious. That majesty is like seeing the boss of Kaido. This is the muttering in the hearts of Pijawan, Runty and others. Hours later, Liu Xing walked out with 5 pieces of purple meat. Compared with the previous tiger-level monster cells, the ghost-level monster cells are larger and more eccentric in shape. Take it, add. Liu Xing tossed the purple meat. Fuzzy Fu and Runty hurried to pick them up, looking cautiously, as if they were holding some rare and precious treasure. Master Consort, what about mine? Peggy One looked anxious. Liu Xing said, weird cells are like devil fruit. You can only eat 1 piece in your life. You've already eaten it. Peggy One immediately showed a very disappointed expression, regretting why he ate so early. After all, looking at the monster cells in their hands at the moment, my sister is obviously much more advanced than the one he ate. The effect is definitely better. That's of course, the ghost-level monster cells are not comparable to the tiger-level. Liu Xing knew that only the stronger people could bear the side effects brought by higher-level monster cells, so he decided not to let Fu Bao and San Jiao eat tiger-level monster cells for the time being. With their strength and fruit ability, they are enough to withstand monster cells above the ghost level. Only in this way can they maximize their strength. Liu Xing is the consort of the 100 beasts, and his fate has been bound to the 100 beasts. The stronger the 100 beasts, the better for him. Not to mention, Liu Xing also has his own ambitions. The hypocritical world government, the shit like celestial dragons, a gang of lackeys marine. How can Liu Xing bear their intimidation? He wants to build the strongest beasts pirates and destroy them all. 8. The anger of Sengoku. The evolved flying 6. Ask for a flower evaluation. Add. Marine Headquarters, Marineford. Marine Marshal Sengoku, known as the resourceful general, was looking at a report on the table angrily at the moment, and shouted, what is Kaido's dragon doing? He wants to start a war. Marine's chief staff officer, Crane, looked at Sengoku in surprise. It seemed that New World was not in a good state by making this old comrade in arms who coexisted with strength and intelligence so rude. What happened? Crane asked. See for yourself. Sengoku threw the report to Crane. Eating Senpai, Garp, who is not serious, also stepped forward to look at it curiously. At a glance, the expressions of both of them became extremely serious. Beasts pirates robbed a dozen of our marine forts. Garp, Crane are quite shocked. Beasts pirates, is this crazy? Not only did they rob marine, but also other pirates, the Beasts group, and even one of Whitebeard's ships. Sengoku added. Garp and Crane looked at each other, both seeing the shock in each other's eyes. Kaido, Beasts pirates, what do you want? The 3 marine elders slowly digested the shock in their hearts, and Crane analyzed, judging from the actions of the 100 beasts, they are all stealing treasures. Are they trying to buy some heavy weapons in the underground world? Add. It's possible, Garp replied. Those bastards in the underground world, who can't do anything, may have actually developed some kind of weapons of mass destruction. Sengoku frowned and shook his head. It's all a matter of guesswork. Without more intelligence, it's impossible to analyze Kaido's true purpose. Wano is too closed for their marine spies to penetrate. Then let the old man go to New World. Crane stood up and asked Ying, even if we can't find out the true purpose of the 100 beasts, we can't let marine continue to sacrifice. Without any hesitation, Sengoku agreed to Jiru's request. Although Garp is stronger than Crane, Garp is not suitable for this kind of intelligence-gathering work. Crane has both brains and strength, and is the best person to be sent to New World at this time. Then it's hard for you to go, Xio. At the same time, on the island of ghosts, Fu Bao, who got the ghost-level monster cell, was so happy that he wanted to eat it immediately. Liu Xing stopped them. Go to my father-in-law and eat again. Fuzz Fu and others thought about it too. This is an advanced monster cell invented by the Concubine. Of course, the effect must be seen by Kaido and the others. This is one aspect. On the other hand, the side effects of ghost-level monster cells are even greater. In case someone can't support it and starts madness, it can be easily stopped with Kaido present. Add. Liu Xing naturally wouldn't tell Fuzzy Fu about this. The group went to Kaido Palace. Inside the palace, there are 3 disasters. See the Concubine, Fire Blight, Plague Quinn, and Jack the Drow greet each other warmly. Inventing the monster cell, which doubled the strength of the empowered legion, Liu Xing's status in the 100 beasts has become more and more detached. My good son-in-law, is something wrong? The smile on Kaido's face was the brightest. With that attitude, he could not wait to treat Liu Xing as his own son. Liu Xing explained things simply. Hearing that his son-in-law actually invented a higher-level monster cell, the surprise and excitement in Kaido's eyes can no longer be expressed in words. Having this good son-in-law is better than 100,000 soldiers. Ha 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 ha. Kaido's laughter, like the thunder above the 9 heavens, made the entire island tremble. After laughing, he urged Fu Bao to eat the monster cells quickly. Fuzz Fu, Runty and others followed suit. The first to finish the meal was Fuzzy Fu, and the first to change was Fuzzy Fu. The cells on the surface of the body continued to proliferate and swell, and every hair stood on end, but Fuzz Fu, who had been psychologically prepared, only let out a low groan instead of screaming. Worthy of being a former CP9 elite spy who claims to be comparable to Rob Lusai. A flash of color flashed in Liu Xing's eyes. Speaking of which, what happened to Fuzz Fu was quite tragic. Many years ago, he was ordered by the world government to escort rubber fruit, but was kidnapped by the red-haired Shanks on the way. Fuzz Fu, who was thrown into a prison and then escaped, joined the 100 Beasts without hesitation, thinking that one day he would be able to take revenge on the world government and the red hair. Therefore, Fuzzy Fu is extremely eager to become stronger, and he is also the first person in Fliu who dares to covet the position of the big Kanban. Click. Suddenly, there was a crisp sound of shattering bones, and an astonishing scene appeared. A pair of bloody red wings grew out of Fuzz Fu's back. What an amazing change! Jhin widened his eyes and sighed. Quinn opened his mouth with admiration. He also wanted to eat monster cells, and wanted to become stronger and take Jin's place. It's a pity that the concubine said that it was not yet time for them to eat monster cells in the 3 disasters. Liu Xing's plan is to let the 3 disasters eat dragon-level monster cells. Roar! Fuzz Fu suddenly let out a huge roar of a tiger, and he was the first to complete the evolution. Looking closely, Fuzz Fu's body has doubled in size at the moment, his fangs are getting sharper, and the blood-red wings that grow out of his back look even more terrifying. Ho! Immediately after, Black Maria, Sasaki, Junti and other Flying Six also completed their evolution one by one. 9. The ancient species evolved the Eudemons species. Ask for a flower evaluation ticket. Peggy when swallowed. The powerful aura coming from Fuzz Fu and his sister Runty made his heart skip a beat. Now, I'm afraid I'm going to be the weakest of the Fluxing again. Pijuan, who is less than 20 years old, has always been at the bottom of the Flu cell. After eating Liu Xing's monster cell, Yi was able to equalize with Jack the Drow, and became the strongest Fluquan for a short time. This time, it was beaten back to its original shape. It's not because Peggy 1 is not strong, but because with the blessing of ghost-level monster cells, the current Fuzzy Fu has become too strong. That powerful aura made Jack, Jhin Quinn, and Jhin all aware of the great threat. It was Kaido. All of them looked moved, and the big eyes of the 2 copper bells burst out. This feeling of getting stronger is really wonderful. Fuzz Fu had an incomparably happy smile on his face, and his eyes suddenly turned to Jhin. Jhin, I want to challenge you. He even directly challenged the strongest flame of the 3 disasters. Fuzz Fu, don't get carried away. If you want to fight, my uncle will accompany you. Jack the Drill opened his mouth somberly. He respected brother Jhin very much. How could he tolerate Fusifu's madness? Hearing this, Fuzz Fu glanced at Jack with a hint of contempt in his eyes. Mr. Jack, although you are very strong, I am afraid that you can't help me now. Because, you have no wings. Jack's tone was stagnant, and his expression was quite annoyed. The other party was right. Fuzz Fu, who had evolved a pair of scarlet wings, was really helpless. Among the 3 disasters, only Yan Jhin has the ability to fly. I accept your challenge. Jhin took a deep breath and agreed to Fuzz Fu's challenge. He was also curious about how strong Fusifu, who ate the advanced monster cells invented by the concubine, was now. This is also the point that Kaido is most concerned about. People come to the outside world. Both Jhin and Fuzz Fu have the ability to fly, and a palace can't hold a battle between the 2. Fuzz Fu, come on, let me see how advanced monster cells can increase your strength. Jhin folded his arms across his chest and spoke calmly. Although he knew that Fuzzy Fu had become very strong now, as a descendant of the Lunaria clan, a son of God, Jhin had his own pride. Then you have to be careful. Fuzz Fussen sneered. Then, he lay on the ground and turned into a saber-toothed tiger. Fuzz Fu is a cat fruit, ancient species, saber-toothed tiger form ability. However, compared with the past, the saber-toothed tiger in front of him had a pair of wings that seemed to be stained red with blood. Whoosh! The scarlet wings fluttered, and the saber-toothed tiger rose into the air, like a tiger descending the mountain, pressing towards Jhin. What a fast speed! What a fierce momentum! Jack the Drill was startled. Just looking at this hand, Fuzz Fu's strength is definitely not inferior to him. The Emperor Yan. Jhin was not afraid of Fuzz Fu's speed and momentum. A mysterious flame rose from the jet-black wings behind him, and with the rub of one hand, it turned into a giant great fireball and shot at Fuzz Fu. Roar! Exclamation mark. The tiger roared, tearing the flames with its claws. As the strongest of the 3 disasters, how could Jhin just let Fuzzy falls out? He opened his mouth and spit out a sharp whistle, which turned into a huge toothless pterosaur and flew into the sky. This is a dragon and tiger fight. Black flame pterosaur versus scarlet saber-toothed tiger. The dragon roared and the tiger roared, and the clouds in the sky were torn apart. The pirates of the 100 Beasts on the Island of Ghosts heard the movement and looked up, their eyes almost falling. That black pterosaur, it should be Lord Flame Calamity. Then who is the red saber-toothed tiger, who can even compete with Lord Jhin? Also, Why do saber-toothed tigers have wings? They can't figure it out even if they think about it. What's wrong with this? In 100 beasts, only Fuzzy Fu is a saber-toothed tiger. He can suddenly become so strong, and he can even compete with Lord Fire Calamity. It must be because he has eaten the strange cells of the concubine. A burly fighter stood up and explained that his eyes were full of admiration. That worship is obviously not to the two people in the air, but to the concubine in his mouth. A little scoundrel recognized the real fight, who was clearly Billy, who looked like a skinny monkey in the past, and was the bottom of the gimmick's army. However, in this case, the little brat would not dare to say it, because thanks to the concubine, Billy is now a powerful real fight. The monster cells invented by the concubine are simply too heaven-defying. All the pirates in the 100 Beasts group, at this moment, their admiration for Liu Xing has reached an incomparable level. The desire for monster cells is infinite. Unfortunately, they are not zone-capable, and their own strength is not strong, so they can't bear the side effects caused by monster cells. No, I have to become stronger. Become strong enough. Let the concubine also give me a freak cell. These pirates have given birth to a firm belief in becoming stronger because of this. The other end, Kaido, who was no longer satisfied, shouted to the air, "Okay, you don't have to fight, calm down." After hearing the words, Jhin and Fuzzy changed back into human form and fell back to the ground. Both of them had injuries. Jhin was the lesser, and Fuzzy was the heavier. Obviously, in the competition just now, Jhin had the upper hand. However, Fuzzy can actually make Jhin injured, and his strength seems to have reached the level of 3 disasters. Kaido couldn't contain the ecstasy in his heart, looked at Fu Bao, who was much more imposing than before, and laughed loudly. "Your strength is comparable to Jhin and Jack, especially Fuzzy, Runty, Maria. The 5 of you." The old man just saw that in addition to the enhancement of the original zone ability, each of you has also acquired a new ability, like Fodor's wings. Let's put it this way, it's equivalent to your ancient fruit, which has evolved into an illusion. 10. Wife Yamato acts like a spoiled child and wants weird cells, for flower evaluation. Ancient species evolved into Eudemons species? Fuzzy Fu and Runty were very pleasantly surprised. Don't look at all zone fruits, but the difference between zone fruits is like comparing Luffy's Rinran fruits to Chopper's, which is a world of difference. Especially the Eudemons species, which are even rarer than Logia. The fruits of the famous mythical beasts on the sea today can be counted in 2 palms. The 100 Beasts now owns 2. One is Kaido's own fish and fish fruit, Phantom Beast species, and the form of King Long, and the other is Liu Xing's wife Yamato's dog and dog fruit, Phantom Beast species, and the shape of the true god of the mouth. And Kaido just said that the ancient species of Fuzzy Fu's 5 people, under the action of ghost-level monster cells, are equivalent to evolved into the Phantom species. Spread it out, and the whole sea will cause a huge sensation. Comparing the ecstasy of Fuzzy and the 5, Peggy 1 was tantamount to a thunderbolt. What he ate was just a tiger-level monster cell. Although his strength had also leapt, the fruit had not reached the level of an illusory beast. Peggy was so regretful that he could not wait to smack his own mouth. "Why did you take the initiative to eat that tiger-level monster cell?" After Kaido praised Fu Bao, he turned his attention to Liu Xing, but suddenly sighed. "Son-in-law, I want to reward you with something for my father, but I have married all my daughters to you, and you don't lack anything from the 100 Beasts. Well, I'll make you one Okunese general in the future." Liu Xing's heart moved slightly. Make him one Okunese general? This is Kaido's arrangement for Yamato in the original book. It seems that the cheap father-in-law really treats him as his own son. However, Liu Xing did not want to be a general of Liu Shizi at all. He is just an inventor, hiding behind his back, building the strongest group of beasts, building the strongest father-in-law, and conquering the world is over. Father-in-law, these are what the son-in-law should do. Liu Xing touched his bulging small vault and said humbly. Kaido patted Liu Xing on the shoulder, and his tears were about to fall. If only Yamato could be like you. His rebellious daughter, although she no longer worships Kozuki-eden, she still has no good feelings for his father. The sentimentality was only for a moment. Kaido put it behind him in a blink of an eye, and asked again eagerly, "Son-in-law, how many high-level monster cells can you make?" Liu Xing said without hesitation, "Just like the previous monster cells, you can make as many as you want. The key is that there are too few people who can withstand the side effects of monster cells." Kaido frowned. Indeed, the previous tiger-level monster cells could only be endured by the Giver Legion. The current ghost-level monster cells have to withstand at least the level of Flying 6 cells. Even if the 100 Beasts are strong, such strong people are very rare. Kaido didn't have any good ideas for this. He could only try to collect as many devil fruits as possible and buy more smiles from jokers. Liu Xing saw Kaido's thoughts, smiled in his heart, and continued, "Father-in-law, my son-in-law has a solution to this problem." Kaido was beaming with joy. "What? Just say it." This son-in-law can really surprise him constantly. "My son-in-law invented a gravity house that can speed up cultivation, that is." "What is it?" "It will cost tens of millions, or even hundreds of millions of Baileys to make a gravity house, and my son-in-law is very shy. What kind of problem is this? Kaido waved his hand. Haki sideways leaked. If you don't have money, go out and grab it. When Peggy heard this, he immediately volunteered. Boss Kaido, leave this task to me, and I promise to bring back enough funds to the concubine. It is good. Kaido was overjoyed and handed over the task of stealing money to Pijawan. Pijawan's sister Auntie, how can she rest assured that her younger brother will go out to sea alone, and shouted to follow him. Kaido agreed. Everyone dispersed. Liu Xing didn't go back to the lab either, and planned to go home and hug his wife Yamato, whom he hadn't seen for several days. But Peggy sneaked up to Liu crossing. Master Consort, can I really eat another monster cell? Liu Xing saw the anticipation and anxiety on Peggy face. Obviously, this kid was greatly stimulated by the phantom beasts from Fuzzfu and others. It's not impossible if you want to die. Alas. Peggy heard the words, a look of despair. Liu Xing raised his eyebrows slightly, but he couldn't let Peggy be so discouraged. After all, this kid was about to go out to help him make money. So Liu Xing patted Peggy on the shoulder and made a bad check. The task is well done. I will try to invent another item that will allow you to upgrade the Eudemons. Pijawan was overjoyed and grateful, so he almost kowtowed to Liu crossing. Looking at the back of Peggy happily leaving, Liu Xing shook his head and laughed. Silly boy. As soon as I got home, I heard, husband, you are back. Liu Xing stretched out his hand and hugged the tall and slender beauty who was jumping into his arms tightly, blowing beside the beauty's crystal earlobe. Wife Yamato, your observation haki is getting better and better, and you can sense me from such a distance. Yamato giggled, because you're someone's husband. The two stayed for a while. After letting go of his hand, Yamato still held Liu Xing's arm and shook it. Liu Xing couldn't help but be surprised. Although Yamato always pestered him, he was never like this. Cough cough. Liu Xing coughed and assumed the majesty of the head of the family. Yamato, are you hiding something from me? Yamato's flawless fair face flushed slightly, and said coquettishly, I can't hide anything from my husband's eyes. They do have one thing to ask my husband. Let's talk. Liu Xing felt his bones lighten by a few ounces. Can you eat me a freak cell? Yamato blinked his big, watery eyes in a begging way. If you like this audiobook, subscribe the channel for more videos like this and join my Patreon if you want to support me. Leave some comment and let me know if you guys like this story, or you have a web novel you like and want to hear its audiobook. I will be happy to create them for you. Please like, share, and leave a comment on the video.